man, welcome everyone to I'm a Black Woman, Yes I Matter, Season 2. You guys have made Season 1 so remarkable, and so we're coming back for Season 2. We've changed up the format a little bit. I wanted to have some more intimate conversations with not just awesome, dope Black women, but also with some of our brothers who are allies to the work that we do, who are just supportive. And this is all about us coming together as a community, loving on each other, showing positivity, etc. So I am so excited to have our guest currently, T. Adeola. He is the CEO of STEM Whisperers, which is his way to really try to break the school to prison pipeline. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that means, what that looks like. And he's also the author of Straight Out of Context, which is actually one of my favorite books. Learned a lot about digital marketing. Didn't know a lot about it. At least I thought I might have learned something, but realized, man, this takes a lot of work and science and energy and thought process to digital marketing, but the amazing ways that we can get involved with the digital marketing piece. So I thought it might be funny for us to talk a little bit about how we got connected in the first place.
Yeah. That was quite the adventure. And first, thanks so much for having me on. It's an honor and a privilege. But how we got connected is I was on last season on a tech talk, and you had a panel on there. Some awesome sisters. And unfortunately, we got Zoom bombed. We were on Zoom at the time, and somebody just started playing some just foolishness, right? And we at first tried to, keep the show going, and they did it again. And it was just clearly, it was petty and small and stupid. And so I was very offended on your behalf that they would do something like that, because it's like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I mean? This is positivity. We're talking about bettering ourselves and how we show up for our ourselves and our children, and then you gonna come in with the nonsense. So I reached out afterwards on LinkedIn, did a short video just expressing, my umbrage and my support for you. And then we, stayed in contact ever since. And so here we are. But yeah, you were doing your thing, and the devil came knocking, and we was like, man, out of here with that nonsense. So yeah, that's how it happened.
Yeah, and what's so funny about that is that like we were amplifying. We decided to go even bigger and harder, right? Like we took it to YouTube. We we now have all
Absolutely.
of these awesome subscribers who come and engage, and even if you're not live and you come back and you comment later, like that's awesome. So just great engagement. So people thought that they were going to be able to silence us, but they didn't. But I will say that I was a traumatic experience, and to have T reach out to me and be like, sister, like I feel you. I got so much love for you. And we just built such an amazing professional friendship and relationship from that point forward. T is also my accountability buddy. Every month we
Hmm.
talk and we hold ourselves accountable as entrepreneurs in this space. And I think like if you guys don't have someone like that, find someone. I think it's so helpful. I don't know, maybe T can talk a little bit about, how those monthly chats go for you. But for me, they're like, hey, I need them. It's just a great way for me to start the day. They're actually I say start the day, but it's really noon, so it's like a good lunchtime break time for us to talk. And then I'm like, oh man, I didn't do all the things I said I was gonna do by the time we get in this conversation. So either I have to
Hmm.
own up to, where I'm at, or I have to like step up and be like, okay, I really said that I had to have this deadline. And T will be like, let me go back to my notes from the last time we talked.
Yep,
And you
straight
said
like
you were
that.
gonna do X, Y, Z, and I'm sitting here like, oh my God, you're right.
Hmm.
Not there.
Everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. And what I will say, just to echo that sentiment, is that find someone, like, shoot your shot. Like, find someone who you think is just a little bit above you and can help you elevate to that level. Because I'll be honest, I'm not ashamed to say it. I was somewhat intimidated by Kumar, because like everything she does is so dope and of such high quality. And I'm like, yo, like, let me hitch my caboose to her train and see if she thinks it's not robbery, because it's like, yo, you don't want to be the, like Kumar said, you don't want to be the one dragging down the ship, right? So you definitely want to get an accountability buddy who definitely has something going on. And it's like, yo, she is out here doing it. And I mean, I do a little something. I'm no slouch, but she out here doing it. So I definitely want to surround myself with people who have something going on, which my sister absolutely does. And yeah, I'll be taking notes. I don't let nothing slip. So it's mutually beneficial for both of us because I definitely aspire to the level of quality, consistency, and just unapologetic fearlessness. Because what attracted me to Kwamara in the first place, like with that event that we were talking about the first time, like she comes out the gate like, yo, I want these resource officers out the school and like just going hard from the jump. And I'm over here muted, like, pull my hair. Yes, give it to me. This is like just going off because it's like I need that. It's a breath of fresh air. So I'm going off in the chat, like, yeah, this is awesome. And it's just something you want to be a part of. So again, shoot your shot with your accountability buddy. Don't be intimidated and like, man, they probably won't even email me back. She got so much going on. Nah, go for it. Get out there because no person is an island. We all need somebody, and together we rise.
Indeed, we do. First of all, thank you, brother. Like, I mean, that was just amazing that you intimidated feels like such a strong word. I'm just honored that you reached out to me, and that's true in general. All of you guys can always reach out to me, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. I'm always open to having conversation because I believe in collaboration, not competition. I believe in community. I believe in networking. We're only going to grow together. I eat, you eat, we all eat. Right? That's a philosophy I've had for a
Absolutely.
very long time. But you mentioned some of the things that we did talk about that were some of our close synergies, which is the school to prison pipeline, right? Which is making sure that schools feel like safe places for students, especially Black and Brown students. But as it stands, I mean, they have to walk through metal detectors often. They have school resource officers who are actually police officers who carry guns into the school building. Just read an article around um, three officers coming to arrest four 8-year-old Brown students in a public school building. Just read another article about students being arrested, young students being arrested for a crime that doesn't even exist. What is going on here? And tell us around how that helped you start and build STEM Whisperers.
Yeah. So STEM Whisperers, we are a workforce development STEM program specifically designed to end the school to prison pipeline and replace it with marketing technology careers. So the long and short with me is that, I was that kid. You know what I mean? Chronic suspension, truancy, barely graduated high school. But, somehow I managed to avoid the pitfalls of the system. And I went on to have a pretty good professional career. So I've managed search, social media, and email marketing campaigns for some of the largest corporations in the world, including Procter and Gamble. And going through that, I had the ability to see the gaps not only in the workforce, but also in STEM education. I also teach as an adjunct instructor at the University of Wisconsin Madison, Loyola University, New Orleans, University of Miami, and
Mm,
Old Dominion University. So I've been around. Right. And luckily, when I was coming through, resource officers were just now starting to become a thing, but it wasn't as established as it is now. And because they'd have got me. Let's keep it a band. Like I'd have been one of them, right?
mm.
And so yeah, it's just getting them out of the school to prison pipeline and into MarTech careers because one, the school to prison pipeline disproportionately targets Black and Brown students, even though these policies, these zero tolerance policies exist everywhere, they're disproportionately applied to Black and Brown students. There was one student that got suspended over Zoom because there was a Nerf gun in the back,
Yes,
something
I
like
know
that. Put him
Pokemon.
out for 3 days. It's like, yo, what are you doing right now? And so breaking that up and getting them into marketing technology, which is all of the tech that keeps marketing going. So Facebook ads, Google ads, email, all the stuff that I've done for some of the largest corporations in the world. Because the thing about digital marketing specifically is it's closer to a vocation than it is a licensed profession, insofar as if you want to get out and start running campaigns and taking on clients, all you need are a few certifications. You don't have to have a degree, right? So getting them out of the pipeline and into MarTech, because if you actually examine the characteristics of the young people most likely to be taken advantage of by the pipeline, they're charismatic, can sell water to a whale, good with numbers. If you can successfully sell dope, then you can be a director at any corporation in the world, right? Because this is what I tell my drug dealers, like, yo, you have an MBA right now, right? Like right now, you know how to negotiate, you know about supply and demand, you know about supply chain management. You're at the extreme end of risk mitigation. Screw a stock price. If you make the wrong decisions and the feds tear apart the squad, now you dead or doing life. That's risk mitigation. Okay. So that's how I found myself with the seed that eventually sprouted into STEM Whisperers. And then the second book in the curriculum is specifically about digital discernment. Like that's the big takeaway of that whole book. And digital discernment is what I describe as the ability to both contextualize and categorize online information, because as we've all seen, just because it's online doesn't make it factual. It just means it's there, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially in our community, when we have conversations about post-secondary education, the framing is often out of context. And I wanted to have a more nuanced, more level conversation about the value prop of post-secondary education, because let's start with what it ain't, right? Like what it ain't is you don't go to college to learn how to do a thing, right? That's not why you go. That's why God made YouTube. Like that's why we're on YouTube right now. If you want to learn how to do something, you go to YouTube and you type in how to. That's so if you don't go to college to learn information, and you also, in my opinion, you don't go to college to get a job unless you have a very specific career path in mind. I talk about this in the book, the value proposition of post-secondary education. I call them the 3 A's. It's the association, specifically the alumni association, the access to capital, because while, yes, a lot of great information exists out there, a lot of it for free, most of the really, really premium stuff is paid. And so if you go to a conference or something like that, or a ClickFunnels, they're going to want their money. It's not free, and there's no financial aid for them, right? And then last but not least is the acumen or business acumen, just the way you conduct yourself in business dealings. So I'm part of the much maligned millennial generation. And one of the main critiques, which is fair to an extent, is that we don't know how to talk to nobody. You just blurt the first thing that comes out your mouth. And, what that's really saying is that you lack acumen. And so those are the reasons that you go to college. And it all comes down to what's called operationalizing the variable, which is just a fancy way of saying defining what best means in this context. So if you're entering the college discussion, under false pretenses, then of course that's going to fall apart. How could that not fall apart? Because you went into the conversation for the wrong reasons. But if you actually understand what you want out of the deal, then it could be really good for you. Real quick, and then I'll shut up. I actually just this morning, I applied for my graduate degree. So I applied for the Thunderbird School of Global Management out of Arizona State University, because as part of ending the school to prison pipeline and replacing it with MarTech careers, I'm going to have to lead at a much higher level. And I'm going to have skills that currently I don't. So I've been out here pitching and winning pitch competitions for about a year now. but it's taken a year just to get the after school program, let alone the whole year long vocation program out the door. And it's really taken a lot longer than it should have. And that's on me as the CEO. And I mean, let's just say tomorrow somebody sees what I'm doing and says, "Hey, here's 10 million. Go make it happen." Like I'm gonna have to have the ability to marshal those forces at a much higher level than I currently am. Now, notice what I did not say. I didn't say I went and got my graduate degree because I want a job somewhere. Now, God forbid things fall apart, the ability to go hop in a cubicle just to keep child support off my butt, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
But that's not why I did it. I did it because one, I want the skills for me. And then secondly, Thunderbird is the number one rated business school in the world, not in the United States, the world. And they have a global network. And so the issue with STEM education, respectfully, is that it's still largely framed through an industrial age point of view, which is not to say that there's not value there, because there is. But by virtue of the fact that a lot of the career paths that our young people are shuttled into were created and optimized for a different time, most of the time it necessarily does not take into account that marketing technology specifically is the single largest sector of the digital economy. Period.
So, T, you have said a word and dropped lots of knowledge. Every time I talk to you, I'm always walking away with like something to think about, ponder, and I hope that everyone who's listening feels the exact same way. I do want to talk about a couple of things that have kind of crossed my mind as you were discussing, and I want to go back to the drug dealer combo, because I've actually had the same conversation when I was a high school English teacher in quote unquote urban environments. And and this is why I'm a Black woman, yes, I matter. This channel exists is because we need to elevate our stories. There's a narrative around the negativity, around the ways in which people in our communities oftentimes have to navigate systems, and sometimes it is criminal activity. But it's a problem when you're just, Tyrone or Trayvon Smith from, whatever area code, versus if you were a Kennedy or a Rochester, because they were all criminals too. Let's all be clear
Yep.
about how they made their
Hmm.
work, but the wealth was done in a certain way because of the narratives and the stories. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about um, how we have to elevate those transitional skills and say, like, actually, don't think that you're just this, or don't think that because you come from XYZ zip code that your skills are lacking. In fact, you have been able to manage a system that is so difficult that most people could not manage, that you've actually acquired so many amazing skills that you can then transfer and work with you in the ways in which the society is currently structured. Not to say that the society should stay structured the way that it is. I mean, I think that's one
Hmm.
of the things that we are constantly sort of talking about. So that's one piece. And then the other piece I think about when you said acumen, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, it reminds me of this curriculum that I wrote. I was in English, like I said, I was a high school English teacher, and I had kids who were like, Miss Thompson, I don't need to go to English class. Like, I know English. English is my first language. I said, I need you guys to think about English as a secondary language, because what I'm going to be talking about is the language of success. So really the kinds of ways that you need to speak and present yourself in order to quote unquote be successful in the world in which we know it currently. Not saying that that's the world that it should be, but that's the world in which we currently live in. And so once I put that little damper in the ways that they, started thinking about it. And a lot of us, we call it code switching. They
Hmm.
actually were really much more open to the idea of like coming to English class, understanding, learning, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's what you mean for acumen. But I also wonder, like, how are the ways that we can disrupt that conversation? Because, right, what we're talking about when we say acumen, when we're talking about skills, certain skills, it's really a white normative. It's a white, cis male normative of what success looks like and what is valued currently in the U.S.
Absolutely. So I love what you said about the transitional skills. So I'll start with the acumen and then work my way back. So at a certain level, it's not about code switching so much as it is about you have to learn how to play the game the way the game was designed before you can create a schism, right? Because here's the open secret that a lot of folks don't talk about is that from a talent perspective, the white male well is beginning to run dry. This got really dark. All of a sudden, I'm gonna turn this light on. Okay, that's better. So the white male well is beginning to run dry, and everybody knows it. And so far as if you could come in with just a little bit of seasoning, just a little bit of flavor, not all the sauce, just a little bit of sauce. That biodiversity of thought and creativity goes wild. So it's not about turning yourself into something you're not.
Mm.
It's about getting the resources you need in order to have the impact that you want to have. Because if you haven't been able to tell already, I'm something of a straight shooter, right? I don't bite my tongue. I don't like because I know how to play the game. Like I know how to play the game. If I were to shave my beard, cut my locks off, take a little bit of the bass out of my voice, hey, how's it going? And like talking a higher pitch like that, I could get six figures at a Fortune 100 tomorrow, but I don't. And I won't because I'm not going to because I'm worth more than that. And that is of no benefit, not only to my own mental health, but to what I have to offer for not only my community, but for the economy. Because let's keep it straight. We're valuable.
Mm.
We're highly valuable. And there's a reason why they attack us the way that they do. Okay. And that's because we're that strong. But I digress. Getting back to the transitional skills, which goes back to the acumen, right? Understanding that not only do you have something to offer, but putting it in a different context because it's all about context. For me, context is more important than content because something that I hate and I don't have a lot of patience for is that when you have otherwise very well-intentioned people in our lives, they don't acknowledge the fact that there's a reason why drug dealers are successful in recruiting young people. And no, it's not because we're a pack of degenerates bereft of a moral compass. It's because in most cases, drug dealers are the first entrepreneurs these people have ever been exposed to.
Mm.
And they don't kowtow or code switch around white people. They got women, they got money. Yes, that's attractive to someone like me. What's not to like about that? Now, of course, there's trade-offs, right? But there's a reason why we gravitate a certain way and why we don't gravitate a different way.
Mm.
So, one of the things I tell folks is that, as a role model, you have to model the role. And most young, like, that's why I appreciate platforms like this and the ability to speak at BitCon is that folks got to see you. You got to see it before you can be it. You know what I mean? Somebody has to be the first. And so modeling that behavior and say, "Hey, I don't cut my hair. I don't take the bass out my voice and I wear a beard. And guess what? I'm
Mm.
out here balling and I'm legal and I don't have to worry about, feds coming to get me and all of that good stuff." So it's about showing up as your authentic self, being who you are unapologetically, which you are a chef's kiss at you model the role spectacularly about that. And yeah, it's about having the agency to tell our own stories. And it's like, listen, you need it. It's worth this much and y'all gonna pay because we're that valuable.
I love this idea of value, and I think we talk about this quite a bit. I think oftentimes we believe the stories of the oppressor that we're not a valuable people. But if you think about, and you know this from a marketing perspective, the people they market to the most are us because our dollars drive so much wealth in this country. Our dollars our intellectual creativity, our physical creativity. As we all know, slaves built the United States. I don't care what anyone has to say. People can argue with you about it all day long, but no, slaves gave free labor. If you read Sean Rochester's The Black Tax, he will break down literally the amount of money, which is billions of dollars, that people have made off the backs of Black folk. How do
Mhm.
we change the narrative so that's internal and we truly understand? I mean, you and I understand, but how do we get our people, our folks, to understand the value of what it means to walk through this world, their intelligence, who they are as human beings, just point blank, just as a human, you bring value to those around you, but then really understanding your skill sets and what the skill that you bring in assigning a monetary value to that.
I think it all goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier, is that surrounding yourself with the right people. There's this word called Ubuntu, which means I
Mm,
am because we are,
yes.
right? So I didn't wake up one day with the ability to talk the way that I do and whatnot. I got this way because I had some very great mentors and I was blessed into a loving family, a strong folks who were educators. And I also made it a point to go out and seek knowledge from people who were qualified to give it to me. Not
Mm,
qualified in the sense of having a degree or a certification, but someone with whom I connected to. Like you can see somebody, like we've never met in person, but you can see somebody and the way that they talk and the way that they speak and the way that they carry themselves, it connects with you at a like game recognized game, but really spirit recognizes spirit. And you
mm.
have to gravitate to those people
And
and
word.
cut out the folks who give you the bad vibe. Because here's the thing, and not enough people talk about this. Children know when you don't mess with them. They do know. They know that, okay, Miss Thompson, she actually loves me, but Miss Jones over there, Miss Jones can't stand me, or she's only here for a paycheck, or she don't actually like black kids. Like
Mm,
they might not have language for it, but they do know. so at so that's on the first level. One is surround yourself with people who make you feel good, people who are at a higher level than you and will help elevate you and bring you up, not tear you down. Then at a more tactical level, you got to read. You gotta or even if you don't want to read, you podcasts, video, there's a myriad of ways to educate yourself and ingest information that you otherwise would not be exposed to, right? Because again, let me be clear about this with STEM Whispers and about my second book. I am not here to make college right or wrong. I'm here to make sure that you're having the conversation on the right terms and you have all of the tools available to make the decision that's right for you. That's why I'm here. So that might look, your reading list might look very differently than mine, as well it should. But I would start there. One, surround yourself with people who care about you and are willing to lift you up. Get an accountability buddy and read and actually take the time to gain skills that are of value to you. And then once you go through that process, there's no way you can go through that process and not gain a better appreciation of self, as well as be more selective of the members that you allow into your community. Because it's like going to the gym. At some point, you're gonna look in that mirror and be like, oh, wait a minute. Like it's starting to all come together now. And so that's what I would say to people. And there's a very, very powerful gathering coming up next week. It's the 13th through the 15th, which I am humbled to be a part of. And if you're watching this, Quamara got goodies for you.
I do indeed. So the first five people to have commented, some of you guys have already, and you'll get a little surprise in your inbox, but you'll be getting conference tickets to BigCon, which is literally the biggest annual conference for Black people in technology. It is for us, by us. It is amazing. And T is one of the speakers that will be presenting there. So, like, he talk about he talk about how he's humbled to know me. I'm humbled to know you, my brother. Like, that is awesome. And of course, you always drop in a word. We are getting close to time, but I do want to talk about a couple of things that are so important. One is the concept that we need to educate ourselves, right?
Hmm.
Education absolutely starts at home. And at home, I don't just mean like your physical place that you call your home, but your home, your body, your spirituality. What are you doing to pour into yourself? What is your way that you're educating yourself? What are the things that you are passionate about, you want to be knowledgeable about, and go deep in depth? The K 12 educational system, the post secondary educational system, it exists for a reason. We talked a little bit about why those reasons are. But they are not going to educate you necessarily to be entrepreneurs, to live your best life. That's going to be on you. So educating yourself, I think, is super important. The other piece, and you mentioned this, T, going to the gym. What are some self care? You know, we talk a lot about what are the things that we're pouring out into others, but what are we doing to pour into ourselves? How do we take care of ourselves? How are you taking care of yourself, T?
Well, I exercise quite a bit. I'm in the process of getting less fat. So at my all-time high, I was 383 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Currently, when I weighed myself at the beginning of the month, I was 254.
Brother,
So thank you.
congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Lost about a person. But what I do to take care of myself, meditate, gotta
Mm,
meditate, gotta take some time to be still. Take some time to be still and really connect with, okay, what do I need right now? Because here's the thing, there's nothing selfish about self care because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you're at a deficit, then you can't give your full authentic self and all the gifts that you brought into the world that's unique to you. Whereas, so if you don't give the gifts, then they just don't get given because you're the only one with them, right? So that's part of it. A lot of it is I like to get out in nature as well. So I'm somewhat of a nature boy. I live in Southwest Ohio in Dayton. We got some really nice trails around here. We got some really, really nice trails. And then last but not least, it's going to sound sort of geeky, but it's the truth, or a little nerdy rather. But I read. I read quite a bit because I like leveling myself up, and then also again connecting with people who actually have something going on, so some one of the best forms of self-care that you can do for yourself is avoid the BS.
mm,
Like it is extremely important that you rid yourself of toxic people. Now, I'm not telling you to just willy-nilly get rid of connections, but what I am saying is that just because someone cares about you does not mean that they're not toxic. It means that they care about you.
mm.
And that's a difficult conversation to have, especially when this person's a parent, a sibling, the mother of your children. So it's that's a hard thing to wrestle with, but setting appropriate boundaries and respecting those boundaries. Yeah, that's one of the absolute best things that you can do for yourself is yeah, rid yourself of toxic people.
Always knowledge dropped. Speaking of, if you loved the knowledge being shared by T, please, absolutely, go out, pick up his book, Straight Out of Context, on Amazon. You can find it. And when you read it, please go ahead and do a review. I want to just give a little shout out as to why I very much enjoyed reading this book. I know this sounds crazy, but it was an easy read. I was able to get through it, understand the concepts. I know nothing really about digital marketing. I felt like, man, I have a good, solid understanding. The other piece is, and I guess this is because T, I think of you as my friend. I literally heard your voice as I'm reading through it. I was like, man, if I was having a conversation with T, like this is a conversation we're having, right? And like the book felt so
Hmm.
conversational, so it felt so authentic. Your real authentic voice, your authentic self came out in that book, and I was like, man, I love it. But I think I mentioned to you before in one of our accountability talks, what I was, even though I have seen acknowledgments oftentimes um, in books and I read them because I'm nosy and I like to see who people are going to acknowledge. The way that you laid down the acknowledgments, it was so clear how important and instrumental your community and your network is to your success. I'm going to just switch just a little bit because we actually have a global network that I would love people to join us on. You can find me on Twitter at Tech Talk, Tech Solve, same thing for Instagram, or find me on LinkedIn. T, where can people find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I do not have a Twitter. They ghosted me.
Oh
Woke
my
up one
gosh.
day and my account was simply gone, and I haven't gone back because, screw you too. But they can also find. I'm gonna get another one. Don't worry, I'm gonna get another one. But I'm very active on LinkedIn, and then you can follow STEM Whispers at facebook.com/STEM Whispers. We are pre-launch, but we're gonna be launching soon, so not very active on there. But for me personally, LinkedIn is the best way to get a hold of me.
I also enjoy LinkedIn. It's how like we said, we sort of originally met, plus coming onto my platform. But I do want to do your story about getting ghosted on Twitter. Again, these are the ways that, sometimes our voices as Black folk, especially those of us who are authentic, who know how to play the game and are happy to share that knowledge with others, get silenced, and that often happens to a whole bunch of us. And so what you see at your banner is actually a social media global website that is for us, by us. It's going to be all positivity. No one is going to be able to troll us, and more importantly, our voices will not be silenced. So please, absolutely join. Right now, it is for Black women across the diaspora. We will do something for our brothers, but there is something about having some sisterhood and some community, and I love that my brothers understand that and have such beautiful allyship. But what's also cool is T and I know a few awesome people together, and I was explaining to him one of our favorite people that we support and who has supported us has been James Oliver Jr. from the Parentpreneur Foundation. He raises quite a bit of money for Black entrepreneurs who are parents. And he actually sponsored one of our shows last season. So I thought it would be fun to just like see his little video really quickly, just to show some of the connection and some of the beautifulness that is happening during these last 2 years where people have felt disconnected. We've actually found, I think, pockets of positivity and community and support, which has been just a beautiful thing for us. So I'm going to go ahead and hear from James for a little bit around the Parentpreneur Foundation.
Yeah, and I just think I think Black parentpreneurs matter, and the reason we exist is to, like I said, make them the best parent entrepreneur they can be, but also we want them to raise delightful Black children and send those children out into the world, and that will be our gift to humanity.
I love that. Our beautiful Black
Indeed.
children will be our gifts to humanity. What a beautiful way to sort of start wrapping up a little bit. T, any last words? You and I could probably talk for another 5 hours today,
At
but
least
any last
five
words?
hours. But another thing about James and Parentpreneur Foundation, he too has 5 tickets to give away for BitCon 2021 because I take care of like she said, my community matters to me. And if you pour into me, I'll pour into you. Everybody eats. So if you missed out on the 5 tickets that Kumar gave away, you have another shot. So follow James Oliver Jr. And the Parentpreneur Foundation. I do believe he's requiring you to join the Parentpreneur Foundation, which is more than fair. You get a lot of value
You
from
do.
it. But you'll have a chance to get an additional 5 tickets. I believe we're going live on Tuesday. So head on over to James Oliver Jr. Tell him T and Kumar sent you. And we'll be talking about it on LinkedIn Live on the Breakfast and Convos show. And you'll have a chance to win 5 more tickets.
T, Adeola, thank you so much for coming on, dropping your knowledge. Everyone must absolutely buy straight out of context. Please also support STEM Whisperers. And even if you didn't get free tickets, go join at BitCon, which is next week. Just go to their website. It's going to be a dope session for you to be a part of. But anyway, thank you so much, T. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for joining us live. Please share with your friends, subscribe, follow, all the drill. And thank you all. Thank you so much.
It's been
Bye,
an honor and a
everyone.
privilege. Thank you. Bye.